Welcome to another tutorial video. Since we are currently in financial crisis mode with seemingly half the world locked down, I thought it would be useful to look at one specific aspect that has been mentioned in the news, but which I haven't seen really detailed coverage of, and that is the concept of stock buybacks. Some people are blaming them and saying that they're the root of all evil and they need to be banned immediately. Others think they're a contributor to the current crisis, but not necessarily the main factor. So I wanted to take this opportunity to go through the theory and reality behind them and see just what they're responsible for and what we should do about them. So the most common question we get is something like this. With the coronavirus crisis and economic shutdowns everywhere, many people are blaming companies like Boeing and the big US airlines, Delta, United, American, etc., because they repurchase so much stock. Do you agree? Should stock buybacks be banned? And what this person is referencing is many articles that have had graphs like the one on the left right here, where they're showing the percentage of free cash flow that different airlines have used for stock buybacks over the past decade. And you can see that combined, including American Airlines, which is not shown separately here, they've spent 96% of their free cash flow on stock buybacks, meaning that their cash balance is far lower as a result of constantly repurchasing shares. So the question is, should we do anything about it? Should we save these companies and bail them out with taxpayer funds, even though they arguably spent their free cash flow very foolishly? So as usual, I'm going to give you a short answer to this question, and then we're going to go into a longer explanation along with what I think might be one solution to this problem. The short answer is that the problem isn't necessarily stock buybacks so much, but rather when you combine stock buybacks with high levels of debt, low cash balances, and problematic executive compensation structures. If the stock buybacks get very massive, they can indeed manipulate stock prices and the overall market. And effectively, they let executives earn huge paydays from their options and shares and other incentive compensation without actually improving a company's core business or growing it in any way. Now, in theory, stock buybacks should not affect enterprise value or a company's share price. But as is the case many times, reality is often quite different from the theory. And the truth is, there is a reason why stock buybacks were illegal in the US up until around 1982. So let's go into the theory versus reality now and go into Excel for a few quick examples of how this actually works. Now, the accounting for this should be pretty simple. If you have a stock repurchase, cash goes down on the asset side, common shareholders' equity goes down on the liabilities and equity side of the balance sheet, and the share count decreases. Earnings per share increases, equity value decreases, but enterprise value stays the same because net operational assets do not change. So in Excel, if we go into some kind of three-statement model that gives us equity value and enterprise value, and I go down and I say that repurchase shares increases by, and let's just say 100 for now, equity value goes down because the company has fewer shares outstanding. We're assuming that the share price stays the same. Enterprise value does not change because equity value has gone down, but cash has also gone down. They offset each other, so it stays the same. Also, nothing changes with the company's net operating or net operational assets, so enterprise value cannot possibly change. Now, there are some effects elsewhere. For example, since the company has fewer common shares outstanding right now, its earnings per share goes up as a result. Even if net income stays completely the same, earnings per share is going to go up with a lower share count. So there are some effects here, but if you just look at this briefly, you may not really see the problem because it's difficult to illustrate this type of thing theoretically using a spreadsheet-based model. The reason why this theory breaks down is because the stock market is still a market with buyers and sellers. And so share repurchases can create a very large buy signal. And if there are more buyers than sellers, if there's more buying activity than selling activity in any market, the price is going to go up. So as a result, buybacks often result in more of this, more buying than selling, artificially boosting share prices so companies can manipulate their stock prices with buybacks. So in reality, what might actually happen here is that if the equity value is 4.8 billion or 4.7 billion or something like that, and then the company buys back shares, its share price is not going to stay constant at $45 per share. What might end up happening is because of this buying and selling activity and more buying than selling from this corporate demand, the share price might go up. to, say, $48 per share or something in that range. And then the equity value goes up as well. Now, the enterprise value should also go up, but because of the way this model is set up, you can't really see it. The important thing to focus on, though, is the fact that the equity value is going to go up by at least a little bit if there is a significant amount of this activity, enough to create more buying than selling. And this isn't just a conspiracy theory. Banks like Goldman Sachs have actually looked at US equity demand by source and found that corporate buybacks were a dominant source of equity demand over the past 4 or 5 years. Now, obviously, this 2020 forecast is going to be at least a little bit off, probably a lot off at this stage, but you can see that for the past 4 or so years before this, corporations were by far the biggest source of demand for stock in the US. Yes, in some cases, households contributed, foreign investors contributed, but most of the other items here, mutual funds, pension funds, life insurance, were all negative. So they were actually taking money out of the stock market. In isolation, stock buybacks are not necessarily bad. They're just a tool that a company uses to manage its capital structure. And in some industries, like in commercial banks and insurance firms, stock buybacks are actually necessary to manage the company's regulatory capital. But stock buybacks become problematic when companies take on high levels of debt to fund the buybacks, or when their cash balances reach very low levels because of those buybacks. Debt is problematic because any type of debt limits a company's flexibility. No matter what happens, no matter whether there is a recession or a war or a pandemic or any type of crisis, the company must still make interest payments and eventually repay the principal. And low cash balances are problematic because just like individuals are told to have 6 to 12 months of savings in an emergency fund, companies really need the same thing. If a company's sales suddenly fall because of some temporary crisis and it doesn't have enough cash on hand, as we're seeing right now, it's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. If you want to see this, go and take a look at any random public company you can find. Look at its cash balance and compare it to its total operating expenses and capital expenditures over, say, the past 6 or 12 months. And you'll find that very few of them have enough cash on hand to actually pay for those. But the biggest issue with stock buybacks is that executive compensation plans are often linked to the stock price of the company. So if executives get restricted stock units, RSUs, if they get restricted stock, if they get normal shares, if they get options or performance shares, all of those depend on the company's stock price in some way. You get a very dangerous scenario here because maybe the company's share price is slightly below $50 per share right now, as we just saw in this Excel example. Maybe it's at $45 per share, let's say. Now, if the executive is compensated with options that have an exercise price of $50 per share, they start thinking about this and saying, you know what, I've been here for a while, I'm really close to this threshold, but I still can't exercise these options. What can I possibly do? Now, it's pretty difficult to grow a company's core business, especially a mature, pretty well-developed company. But one simple solution is if the company has extra cash on hand, well, all the executives can decide to pour that extra cash into the stock buybacks. As a result, this buying pressure will force the company's share price up to $50 per share. The executive can exercise his or her options and then cash out. And as they do this, the company's cash balance dwindles. So let's take a look at this in Excel once again. Now, this company has about 400 or 300 of cash on hand. Let's go over here and let's say that they have even more stock repurchase activity. And let's say the stock repurchases go up to $400. So really 400 million in this model. So the company's cash balance goes down to zero or a very, very low level, let's say. And equity value in theory goes down, but in reality, what this does is increase the share price. And maybe it goes up to that $50 per share level, or maybe even a little bit higher than that. Let's say $52 per share. And so what happens as a result is that the equity value goes up by more than the cash balance decreases. The executives exercise their options, and everything seems fine at first, even though the company's cash balance is very low or possibly close to zero or even at zero. But then the problem comes into play when there's a crisis, like a deep recession, a pandemic, a war, some other geopolitical event, and let's say the company's sales fall by 50%. So let's go back into Excel, and let's say that the revenue, which is at about 1,300 right now, so 1.3 billion, let's say it gets cut in half and goes down by 650 million. So I'll enter negative 650 million here, and we can see what happens. The company doesn't have enough in revenue to cover its expenses, so operating income falls to negative 250 million, and the bottom line is that this company ends up with a negative cash balance, which of course makes no sense. This can't happen. If a company gets negative cash, it's going to need to borrow or get bailed out or sell assets or cut expenses or do something else before it reaches this level. And so if the company doesn't have enough cash to cover its COGS, operating expenses, and CapEx, it will have to lay off employees, restructure, or, as we're seeing now, run to the government to request a bailout. So as a result here, the executives have looted the company by manipulating its stock price, and then they've screwed over employees and taxpayers by running away when crisis struck and they suddenly need massive changes or a bailout or something else like that. So yes, stock buybacks are problematic, but they're much more problematic when they're combined with all these other issues. The question then becomes, what do we do about stock buybacks? Should something be done? Should we have legislation to ban or restrict them in some way? And that is one solution. We could ban all public companies from buying back stock, but that would still leave some of these other problems here in place. For example, what if executives spend cash foolishly on vanity projects that are going to do nothing to boost the company's core business? Or they give themselves incredibly high salaries? Or they spend it on some other gigantic waste of time and money? Or what if they just take on too much debt to do the same, and so their debt balance goes up and up and up, and they don't have nearly enough cash on hand to service the debt and to pay for expenses if there's a crisis? Or even putting that aside, what if they find other ways to manipulate the stock price? For example, they could change the dividend policy, and that would impact the share price. Or they could buy and sell certain assets, and that would also affect the share price because equity value, remember, reflects the market value of the company's net assets to the common shareholders. So if those net assets change in some way, then potentially they can manipulate equity value like that as well. So my opinion here is that the real problem is stock-based compensation and the fact that many of these bonuses and incentives are tied to the company's share price in the first place. One bold solution here might be to ban stock-based compensation for executives and employees of public companies. Now, obviously, this would be a big, bold move that would not happen overnight, but I'm just throwing it out there as one potential solution to part of this problem. We could also require companies to have minimum cash balances that would cover 6 to 12 months of expenses, let's say. It would vary by industry, maybe, and the company's maturity stage and so on, but some type of requirement for minimum cash balances to cover these expenses. Now, if an executive is actually responsible for growing the core business, it's fine to give them bonuses or incentive payments or something like that, but I think we need to base them on metrics other than the stock price. Something like organic EBITDA growth or unlevered free cash flow growth, or something that depends on the core business actually growing regardless of the company's capital structure, instead of metrics that can be easily manipulated, like earnings per share, the stock price, and so on. In terms of leverage and this problem with high debt balances, I don't think it's realistic to ban debt, and I think this one is more of an issue related to interest rates. The fact that interest rates have been suppressed and are now low or negative almost everywhere, and the fact that central banks keep printing money and giving companies and the economy never-ending easy money. So I think the leverage one is not necessarily something that we can solve at the corporate level, but something that is more an issue for governments and central banks. We're at the end, so let's do a recap and summary. My view is that the coronavirus is simply the catalyst that revealed all the underlying weaknesses in the economic and financial systems worldwide, certainly in the US and other developed countries, but in many emerging and frontier markets as well. Stock buybacks have been blamed for a lot of what's happening, but by themselves, they're not necessarily problematic. The issues emerge when you combine stock buybacks with high debt balances, low cash balances, and executive compensation that is structured based on easily manipulated metrics like the share price, earnings per share. In theory, stock buybacks reduce a company's equity value and don't affect its enterprise value, but in reality, it is quite plausible to manipulate a company's stock price with massive stock buybacks that push up the share price, at least in the short term, that lets executives loot companies because they can manipulate the stock price up, cash out, and then as soon as there's a crisis that they can't handle because of their low cash balance or high debt balance or both, they have to fire employees, they have to run to the government to ask for a bailout, and they just run away and leave the scene of the crime. There are a couple of solutions to this. We could try banning stock buybacks. We could try limiting or banning stock-based compensation for public companies. We could have requirements related to certain cash balances. I don't know exactly what's going to happen or what the solution will be, but I just want to put together some quick thoughts and an explanation of why this is a problem and why so many articles have been mentioning this, but not really expanding on the exact issue here. So that's it for our quick tutorial. I hope you now learned a little bit more about stock buybacks, why it has become such an issue in this current crisis, and what some possible solutions might be.